All right, Charlie Vann here with Adam Hunter. Adam, how are you doing, man?
Doing all right. Just I flew from LA to Colorado to Tulsa and then drove to Springfield, Illinois. And then I forgot my jacket on one of the flights. So and now it's a big snowstorm outside. So other than that, I'm doing great.
You're hanging in there.
Hanging in there, man.
And you got a show tonight as well. How does it feel to like just be back in front of an audience? I know, and I'll get here in a second about your special, but just being back in front of a live audience.
It's the best. I mean, it really is the best. Like I did shows in Vegas about 2 weeks ago, and then had to go back to Zoom comedy shows. And like going from live comedy shows to Zoom is like having sex without a condom to getting kicked in the face. It's not the same. So it's nice to be in front of live people, which is great.
Now, you were mentioning the Zoom shows because I think that's unique. How are those? And do you have any of the, because sometimes here with the podcast, the Zoom, it just drops. You're having a good conversation, it just drops. Has that happened at all yet to you during a set?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning we were getting Zoom bombers, which I didn't know was a thing. We get people just yelling the most racist things I've ever heard in my life. And then it was crazy. People posting naked pictures, it was insane. So then, but some of the crowds I did showed that they went so bad the audience muted the comic.
Oh damn!
No, I'm joking.
Oh, I was like,
they're hard. I mean, it's fun to see how people like live in their houses and stuff, and it's better than not doing a show because you work on material. But it's not ideal. I feel like comedy's a live art form.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good to like. It forces me to write. I do about 2 to 3 Zoom shows per week, and a lot of times it's the exact same people every week. So I have to come up with new jokes every week. Otherwise, because a lot of times you can get lazy as a comic if you have different crowds every night. You know, but if it's the same 7 people, you got to bring them some new stuff, or they're just going to sit there and stare at you.
Now, talking about like doing the live shows, what are the restrictions now? I haven't been to Addison Improv reopened. Well, it's been open because it kind of counts as, I guess, the restaurant. But Hyena's opened up here, and I haven't been to a show yet. So how's everything being perceived and handled?
It's okay. I think that it's like 30% of the crowd could be there, so that's perfect for me. That's usually who shows up anyway. But yeah, I'm like telling you, I like sold out like 12 tickets. But it's been good. I mean, it's the people that are at the shows want to be there. Like you're not gonna. Sometimes you do comedy shows where it's like a Christmas party, or people don't want to be there. They got dragged by their friends, and you could just tell by their responses that this is not the place they want to be. If somebody left their house during a pandemic, when everyone in the world's telling them not to leave their house, but they wanted to go see a comedy show and like risk it, they're there to have a good time. So that's good,
Well, and I see Bert Kreischer did those drive-in shows.
Yeah.
Have you done one of those, like the outdoor? I know Tim did one as well.
Yeah, I've done a couple of those. I mean, it was weird because if they like your jokes, they honk at you. And then if I guess I don't know, I people like put their brights on me. I don't know what that meant. If they were offended or whatever. So. But
if it was in Dallas, that would be normal because that's how Dallas drive.
Yeah,
everyone drives with their lights on.
Somebody said like a car alarm went off and he thought he was killing. But so it's definitely. I mean, those are kind of fun, but also like you're like, what are we? This is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? I mean, it's better than not doing a show, but geez.
How's like as far as Comedy Store, and have you heard anything like how are they doing, or Hollywood Improv as far as like just kind of staying afloat? Because that was like when everything shut down, I was like, oh man, what's going to happen to the Store and Hollywood Improv?
I don't know. I don't know. I would assume the mom and pop shows, like the smaller ones, are going to have the most trouble because I would think that like a chain, like an improv chain, they could just funnel from one to the other. It's like the money all goes into like one sum, and you could. I don't know if that's true. This is just my own theory on business, but I don't run a business, so I have no idea if that's true. But I know that I mean, I don't know how they're staying open. I know a lot of them are doing virtual shows, but those are I can't imagine them making much money on virtual shows.
Well, like Dallas Comedy House here, years of sketch, improv, and stand up had to close this summer, which is super sad. I mean, they even had like a patio outdoor, so they were doing some things, but it's nowhere near enough. And they weren't running classes as well, so I'm sure that's got to take a toll.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. It really sucks, and it sucks because, I mean, I get it. Like, it's not an essential business, but like but then weed dispensaries are, you know.
I guess keeping everyone sane a little bit.
I guess. I mean,
But
like,
comedy can do that too.
yeah, I don't know. I did a couple comedy shows at weed dispensaries,
Mhm.
so those were fun. But it's crazy. There's a couple shows outside, like in parks and stuff. Those are actually probably the best ones because it's outside. And it's kind of a picnic sort of area.
No, where are you right now?
Right now, I'm in Springfield.
Oh, Springfield.
I'm in Springfield, Missouri.
Breweries seem to be a thing now too with comedy, as far as shows go. I saw something the other day, like an open mic night at a brewery.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like I don't know. It's crazy. I just can't wait for like this all to be over. At the same time, I had a great year. 2020's been a great.
You've been busy. I mean, I follow your Twitter. I mean, MMA Roasted. I mean, it's been entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be with I have a 2-year-old, so I got to spend time with her that I never would spend. Like, actually, I hate being on the road. I hated it before, but when you spend like so much time with your kid, it's the best. And these are years that she's not in school, so I got to be with her almost every day. We went to the park and ballet and music, and that was awesome. And then I got the comedy special with the UFC, which was great, and I wrote the MMA awards, and I got Cejudo to be in a sketch, and I did some road stuff, and I think my marriage went really well. I worked out every other day, if not every day. Like, it's been a good year. I mean, it wasn't obviously a great year because for other people were dying. I'm not like saying, I had a good year. I'm just saying like comparatively, it was, I had to pivot and adjust. And I think that I had to pat myself on the back, but it is what it is. It wasn't like some people that I know just stayed home and watched Netflix all day.
Tiger King.
Or they, smoked weed all day and didn't do anything. And if that's what you want to do, fine. But I think when you have a kid, it's not as easy, especially when she's 2. Maybe if she was a little older, I could have done that.
They always say the terrible twos is. I mean, is she at that point? Has she been at that point?
She's so funny. Like my wife works from home, and we always say shh when she does these Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
And the other day she went in front of the camera and went shh, and just like shushed everybody. It was beyond funny.
So.
I mean, I don't want to come across like an asshole saying I had a good year. I'm just saying.
No. I think it's good to to look at the positives too. If you just focus on the negative and the tragic, which obviously are there. I mean, man, to say everything is bad. I mean, obviously everyone's going through this, but to be able to find those positives. And if any thing about 2020 was a year of, adaptation, like you're talking about the Zoom shows. I mean, look at even Andrew Schultz doing his thing. Like everybody's kind of modifying. A lot of people are, doing podcasts out of their house. I mean, just finding different things to do. Look,
I also saw how it could go awry. Like
my
podcast partner, Mayhem Miller, we had a partner. We had a podcast before. We were killing it. I mean, we were getting 100,000 downloads per show, like before which was a lot. And then he was living with his ex-girlfriend, and they were kind of toxic towards each other. And I told him to get out of there, and he couldn't. And now he's on trial, and he's looking at life in prison.
Damn.
He's going to next week. I mean, he stole her car, or allegedly stole her car, but it was his car, and it's a 3rd strike rule. And I have another friend that relapsed crazy on who knows what he was taking, and his girlfriend passed away because she drank herself to death.
Shit.
I had a lot of like tragedy, and like, not that you learn from people's mistakes, but you're just like, man, like, fuck, it was really hard. It really hit a lot of people differently,
Yeah.
But luckily, like, in times of this, you got to just like focus, breathe, and focus on the good. You know, what could I do better today than I was doing yesterday? You know, so.
Well, let's look at a big positive. Your comedy special on UFC Fight Pass, Throwing Punches. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And poor Mike Perry got the. How was he after that? Was he okay? Was he cool?
He was so nice. Like I knew that he was good friends with Alex Nicholson. They were best friends. And Alex would come to a couple shows, so I think Alex probably warned him. But they told me before, they're like, "Oh, we got Mike Perry and Travis Brown coming." I'm like, both of them. Travis Brown blocked me on Twitter on like every account possible. Like that guy hates me. I'm like, Mike Perry, you got kicked out of the UFC or almost for being too violent.
Yeah.
And they didn't even show Brandon Moreno, who was there with like 15 guys from Tijuana that I'm not sure even spoke English, some of them. I mean, it wasn't exactly like it was a crazy crowd. But Perry I could see him laughing, and I could see him like giving me a thumbs up, probably more than the camera focused on it. So I knew I was in thing. But at the same time, you got to tread lightly with that guy.
Yeah.
You know? But he seemed like a real nice guy. Like I was talking to him during the show, and they cut a lot of it out. But he was saying that John Jones introduced him to his girlfriend, and that she actually wrestled in high school.
Oh, wow.
So she has some combat experience. So I was finding out a lot of stuff.
So it makes sense, the whole cornering. Now we know. Now we know.
Right. So it wasn't like I didn't even know she had any kind of experience, but I guess she wrestled and trained, and John knew her from the gym. So they cut that out, but it actually made more sense. And he seemed like a real nice guy. Now, then he missed weight by 6 pounds 3 days later. So maybe he wasn't cutting weight. Maybe if I had a weight cutting Mike Perry, it would have been different. But
so this was recorded before the Tim Means fight.
It was right before that fight.
Oh, okay.
And they took out one of the jokes. I said, "You're fighting Tim Means. He got arrested too. This is for the Convicted Championship."
Oh.
And they took that joke out. I was kind of like, "Oh man!" But he was great. Mike Perry was awesome. I was actually, I was nervous because I never met Mike Perry. But he tweeted about it afterwards. He was like, "That was awesome, thank you." And he seems like the kind of guy that if he knows he's going to a comedy show or people are getting made fun of, he's cool. It's like if some random dude on the street started talking shit to him and his girlfriend, I don't think he'd be as cool,
Yeah, I think he draws a line. I mean, I think he has a sense of humor, but it's just don't push that one button, But he has a son. He's a father now, so So we'll see what happens. I mean, maybe things will turn a little bit. Although right before that, it looked like he had a nasty. I don't know what he did with his leg there, but
yeah, I think that I don't know what happens when he's alone on social media. It seems like he needs like a Jiminy Cricket to tell him don't post this,
Yeah.
But when he's in public, and everyone that I know that has met him say he's a really good guy. I actually reached out when I saw that post. I reached out to Alex and I said, "Is Mike okay?" And he said, "Yeah, thank you for asking about him," and stuff like that. So,
well, maybe we'll see a even more positive side now that he's a father. Honestly, that Mickey Gall fight was the most motivated I've seen him in a long time. I mean, he looked really good. Speaking of his girlfriend in his corner, but it's just once again the kind of outside. So, but I think if he can get on straight path, I mean, he could string together some good wins.
I mean, he's got that toughness, man. He's got such a hard head. He's been stopped once by a kick to the head that would have knocked out anybody. So he has those things that you can't teach. Mm-hmm. You can't teach heart. You can't teach toughness. You can teach skills. I don't know if his coach could teach skills, but for the most part, you can teach skills, So it's I'm coming from I coach kids wrestling. It's if a kid, I never get concerned if he cries when he loses. I get concerned if he doesn't cry or he doesn't get upset. Those are the ones that I'm he doesn't care. It's when a kid throws a chair or, gets mad. I'm all right, we have to focus on that reaction, but at least he actually gives a shit.
Now you were a 4-time prep state champion, correct?
Yes.
What weight classes? Or was it one?
I wanted a 103, 112, 125, and 140.
I was 103 as well, but I was at 82-pound 103.
Wow.
Yeah, I probably could have won middle school champion when I was a sophomore. I mean,
There's some top 8th graders, man.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It kind of reminds me of, you've heard of, is it Kyle Dake, Cornell University? He won 4 different weight classes about a year ago, which is unheard of at that level.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't on purpose. It was just like I just grew. I hit puberty. I remember that when I wrestled 103, you have to be at least 90 pounds, and so they gave me, I had to weigh in with like all my clothes on, and like my shoes and my boots just to make like 92 or something, you know. But yeah, wrestling is everything to me. It's like I actually listened to the Jordan Burroughs in my 3-hour drive, his Rogan interview.
Oh, it was great. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. It was funny though when Rogan was trying to get him to take CBD, and he's like, "Nah, I'm good." And he's like, "No, I'm gonna take this." He goes, "Nope, I'm good." It was kind of cool to see, like, because I remember when I did Rogan, like he was like, "Hey, want some weed?" And normally I'd never smoke weed
Yeah.
before an interview, but it's Joe Rogan asking me.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like 10 years ago, so I was high as shit, didn't know where I was for most of the interview, and then was like in my head convinced that there were fighters outside the thing ready to kick the shit out of me. Like I hated everything about the interview. So it was nice to see like how strong of a person Burroughs was. It was like, "No, I'm good. I'm good."
Love his McDonald's story about how when he won the gold that he got
Yeah.
to cut in front of the line just to get McDonald's. That's so funny.
Yeah.
how
100%.
how much do you feel that wrestling kind of helped you even with comedy, just being in front of a crowd, just kind of even just that mental toughness, because being on the mat
during this pandemic, I mean,
yeah,
during everything, it's just like you're on stage and like sometimes people aren't laughing and you have to figure out like, how do I get them to laugh? We're at minute 3. We have 40, 2 more minutes of this. This can go 2 ways, and sometimes you're in a match and the guy's stronger and he's bigger and faster and he takes you down, puts it in your back, you're down 5-0.
Yeah.
We got to come back. Like, what are we going to do? And it's just being a good comic is being a good problem solver, and same thing with wrestling. And it's just depending on yourself. It's not allowing you to like get discouraged. It's not quitting. I mean, I wrestled in college, not very long, but when I did, my coach said to me, like, if you're not thinking about quitting, you're not trying hard enough. And that's the same thing with comedy. I mean, there are so many times I want to be like, I've been doing this 22, 23 years. And so many times I want to be like, fuck this. You just keep going out for auditions and, you think you're the best one. The crowd thinks you're the best one. And then all of a sudden you don't get picked. And the guy who gets picked is, the cousin of the CEO of the network or whatever it is. It just keeps going, like, or he's managed by this person who's putting the show together. It's just boom, boom, boom. And there's so many times where you can justify yourself into quitting. You go, I don't have to do this. Why am I doing this? Or, you're not making any money. You're not making. It's also what you're giving up. Like when I was wrestling, I was giving up fun, partying, friendship, looks. I had fucking cauliflower ear and
holidays, eating,
and ringworm and food.
Yeah. Oh, ringworm's the worst. Like it was hard to leave a wrestling practice without one person at least having ringworm or possible staph.
And then comedy, it's like I remember my stepmom being like, "You have to quit this comedy. You're giving up relationships, you're giving up marriage, you're giving up money." But I was like, "No, I'm not doing it. I love it." So it's like you have to love it, or otherwise it's just not worth doing it.
By the way, I think that brother at that wedding years ago did not realize your wrestling bio when he tried to pick a fight with you.
That was like, he did that, and then I think I had like just torn my ACL, and then I had like 42 minutes left of the set. I was getting like $1,000. I hadn't got paid yet, and the crowd, the bride and groom were all Marines, and then they were all Marines in the crowd. So I was like, I don't want to get jumped on by 50 Marines, But yeah, that was like kind of funny though. I was like, yeah, and then all I kept thinking was like, when this video gets out, everyone's gonna call me the biggest pussy for not beating him up. Like and then all people said were, "Man, you showed you were the bigger man. Like that shows inner strength. Like, oh my God, like." Not one person said I was a pussy for not fighting him. Like,
well, and they hired a comedian too,
But all I kept thinking was like, everyone's gonna call me a pussy for not fighting this guy. But I'm like, you know what? Like, but also that was at minute like 3, and then the rest of the 42 minutes, he was inside the house pacing back and forth, and I could see him pacing back and forth while I was trying to tell jokes. It was brutal. That clip, has gotten like 500,000 followers, but was also on like World's Worst Weddings, like weddings gone wrong, like people like in Australia are like, I saw you on a TV show, like the worst wedding ever. Like it just, and I keep getting the paycheck, not a huge, but a couple, like $1,000 every time it airs on just some countdown show of like the worst wedding in the history of the world or something, you know?
I think being called Bon Jovi's totally fine. I mean, there's worse things you can be called or compared to.
I also didn't realize that like that was the bride's brother, and the groom hated him. So there was
so there was already tension there.
There was already a lot of tension. Yeah, there was already a lot of shit going on.
You should have just turned into Bruce Buffer there and just like, hey, I know how we can say.
Well, and they told me to roast people, but they didn't give me anything. They make fun of everybody. They didn't give me like, they didn't say like, you know, hey, make. So I was like, okay. So I was just looking in front of looking at people making fun of them, you know. And then the grandma started yelling at me like 10 minutes later. I'd say on the tape with her going, "We don't want to hear your sex jokes." It was just like, I was like, "You guys hired me. Like they literally asked me to do this."
Like, I'm not here making balloon animals, you know.
Yeah, crazy.
Well, real quick, because I know you got a show coming up. When did you decide, hey, I want to like take two of my passions, your love for fighting and comedy, and mix it together? Because I feel like awesome job with MMA Roasted. I mean, it keeps me entertained. I love how recently fighters are like, roast me, like coming out and actively without you even having to do it.
Well, no, what happened there was I accidentally gave away like crypto. Like I was getting paid in crypto from this website, and I didn't change. Anyway, I put the wrong crypto in the wrong wallet, so it's stuck in the wallet, right? And at the time, it was like $2,000 in Coinbase. It shot up to $100,000, like even more, but I can't get to it. So I've been hitting up everyone. This is like recently, everybody I've been hitting up, like in the company, please help me, please help me. Finally, I just tagged the CEO and I said, hey, Brian, I have this money. Please help me get it out. You know, I'm trying to buy a house. And then I put whoever retweets that pinned tweet, I will give them a joke about anybody they want. So his whole timeline got filled with like every fighter's jokes, like Tito Ortiz or Matt. It was like people were giving me like Bobby Southworth. I mean, Kimo Leopold. So then finally they got back to me, and then they're getting me the thing back by spring, allegedly. So, but that's what. Then fighters just started just saying, "Well, roast me." Like, so then I was
like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah. So I was like, "Sure." The funniest thing ever was when Kevin Randleman kept asking to roast him. And I remember Randleman from Pride is like the scariest human being of all time. And I had him on the show, and I was very respectful because I loved Randleman. And he kept getting mad. Like, I thought you were going to roast me, not toast me. Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
He just kept. So finally, I was like, all right, whoever has the best Randleman joke. And I was giving away like an autograph signing. And then it was just, it was off. And then he calls me up and he's like, tap. He tapped over the phone. He's like, I don't know, my wife's yelling at me, and I promise I'll never ask a comedian to roast me again. He's like, I'm sorry, please tell him to stop.
Who do you think could, like, you know, we see Brendan now, Brendan Schaub involved with comedy. Is there any fighter right now that you could say, you know what, I could kind of see them giving it a shot, that you think they could actually do something with comedy?
I think Matt Serra is really, really funny.
Oh, yeah.
I think that I did a show with Tyron Woodley, and I didn't think, you know, I just thought Tyron was like funny-ish, but when he went on stage, he murdered.
Yeah.
He like 20 minutes of just murdering. Like, it was a whole different side of Tyron Woodley. So he really showed me that, like, he could do it for real. Woodley's a funny dude.
Chell? Could Chell?
Yeah. Oh, Chell without question.
Yeah.
Could do it.
I mean, his whole Q&As were stand-up.
Yeah. Bisbing would be really good. Yeah, I mean, those probably Paul Felder. He's got like a theater degree. You know, he seems like so he'd probably be good. I mean, a lot of Frank Mir did comedy. He was actually pretty decent. You know, these guys are also like, some of these jiu-jitsu guys are super high level, like thinkers, and like they can figure out joke structure.
Well, Eddie Bravo, he's good.
Yeah, Eddie Bravo, like, we did a show together, and like he's like, when it's his crowd, he murders.
Yeah.
But like, we did a show where people didn't know him, and they were like, what the fuck? It was like
this conspiracy.
Yeah. They were like, but he was really cool about it. Like, he was like, I think it's better when they know who I am. I'm like, yeah, I think so.
With 257 coming up, could Connor, or do you think he's more of just like a reactionary person? Because I can't see him really telling a story or like having a bit, but I can see him handling like a heckler maybe, or
I don't know.
a
I always
one-off.
think that humble Connor is funnier, more
Yeah.
interesting than like the Connor that we saw when it was like the Mayweather press conferences.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was horrible.
The Cowboy Connor was funny just because he was being respectful, and when he's actually kind of respectful until he's like,
yeah, when he's kind of respectful, it's interesting. Like even with the when he was like, who the fuck is that guy?
Yeah.
The Jeremy Stevens.
Yeah.
Like, amazing timing, but he wasn't like he didn't take over that whole thing.
No.
He was like funny enough, but when he got like whatever, the coked up Connor would not be good.
No.
But,
He would just be too all over the place. I mean, dancing or I don't. He's a little chaos. No, I mean, I just think about that. It's like, who would transition? Because I think Dean Thomas does improv, or he did do improv.
Yeah, Dean. I've done comedy with Dean. He was good. He was like legit good. Gerald Harris, I'm doing a show with him Sunday, is really funny. He's been doing it for a while. A lot of it is just like consistency, They got to just treat it like they would. Like, I mean, Dominic Cruz would actually be funny if he actually worked at it, even with his like curmudgeon personality.
Him in Favor was classic.
Yeah, but Cruz is really funny. Like, he's not likable, but most comics aren't likable. But he's likable if like you know him. Then he's like really funny. Like, I had to direct him in a video, and he came up to me and he was like, "I don't find this funny. I don't want to be here. I think this is stupid, but I told you I'd do it. Just let's get this over with." But that brutal honesty was hilarious, Well, Phil Davis would be good too.
What about I don't know that Chuck Liddell would be, but
no, definitely not Chuck Liddell.
Forrest Griffin. I think maybe
Forrest would be funny. I think that depending on what mood he's in.
Yeah.
Like I love Forrest, but like you never know what Forrest you're gonna get. Either you'll get the fucking greatest guy in the world, or just the guy who does not want to be bothered. And he's the first guy to tell you that too. He's just like, I think Forrest would be good. Like Baroni would be good, but not on purpose. Like,
what about
Phil
Stephen Bonner?
He's done it before. I did a show with Bonner. He could be really funny too. He's just a little bit. He's just out there. I did a show with Bonner one time. It was his first show ever, and I don't know what he was on, but let's say he wasn't sober. And he shows up, and he doesn't know about the light, and they kept lighting him to get off, and he just didn't. And he was like forgot his jokes, and like it was almost like an Andy Kaufman bit, but he wasn't doing it on purpose, And then afterwards, some fucking annoying drunk guy, like chubby, was like, "Hey man, like, dude, you gotta go back in the fight, and your comedy sucked." And I was like, it was like 3 a.m, like, and then because the show started at 12:30. And I'm trying to back the guy up. It's just me, him, and Bonner in the green room at the end. And he's like, "Yeah, man, get back to fighting. You're terrible." And he put his arm on Stefan, and Stefan grabbed him and did like a Steven Seagal like death grip throw and threw the guy on his head. And the guy did like a perfect 180. And he goes, "Who sucks now, motherfucker?" And I had to like jump on him. And I'm like, "Dude, you can't beat up the crowd. The guy's gonna sue you." But it was probably the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. But because I've never seen a Steven Seagal move work in real time.
Yeah, I know. I haven't either.
It was incredible.
It's like what, Under Siege, where he's like, "Come on."
It was the best.
Well, who do you think, Connor, Poirier? What's your final prediction?
Look, I want Dustin Poirier. I like Dustin Poirier. I would be really, really happy if Dustin Poirier won. I just think Connor's got his number, and it hurts me to say this. And I hope that Dustin doesn't find out that I said this too, because I don't.
We won't tag him. We won't tag.
Please don't be a dick, because I really want him to win.
Yeah.
I like him as a person, and I'm going to be rooting for him. And if he wins, I'm going to be thrilled. I just don't know if that's going to happen.
I will say I think he has a better chance at 155 than he did 145, and I think Dustin's a big 155. I think where Dustin wins this is in the clinch against the fence, and he's going to have to. But he's going to have to get the Conor that wears down. He's going to have to get the Conor that we saw in Nate Diaz too later round. I don't know that he finished Conor, but you know what? Dustin has a very underrated ground game. He's got a nasty Dars.
I truly hope.
But I mean, yeah, I could see. I mean, Conor, Conor's so fast. It's those opening minutes. If you can get past those opening minutes.
And I feel like also Dustin's a little mental. Like I feel like he's sort of like he knows the guy's gonna. I don't know. Who knows? But I gotta go. I'm gonna get.
All right. Well, thank you very much, man, and thank you again for being on the program.
Probably. Thank you. Take care. Have a good week.
Hope you enjoyed this video, and to watch full episodes of the podcast, click here. And don't forget to subscribe to be notified for future interviews. Thank you for watching.